1969, Playboy Mansion, Chicago, 3:47 a.m. A security guard is standing by the front doors when a sharp crash explodes from inside the house. Not laughter, not music, glass. He runs into the main hall and freezes. Johnny Cash stands at the bar, dressed head to toe in black, surrounded by shattered crystal. Guests in silk robes stare in silence, unsure whether to move or breathe. No one laughs. No one speaks. From the staircase, Hugh Hefner appears, pajamas, slippers, a pipe still in his hand. He stops halfway down. The room holds its breath. Cash turns slowly. His face is calm. No rage, no apology. He looks Hefner straight in the eyes and says 5 words, quietly, clearly. Words that will permanently change how these two men see each other. Pause. But that moment didn't come from nowhere. To understand why America's most famous Christian singer shattered a glass in the home of its most famous hedonist, why he crossed a line he could never uncross, why faith, temptation, and honesty collided at nearly 4 in the morning, we have to go back several months. To a time when Johnny Cash was newly sober, America was tearing itself apart, and one unexpected invitation set everything in motion. Let us know where you're watching from, and we hope you enjoy the story. Spring 1969. America feels like a house with 2 radios playing at once, one shouting about Vietnam, riots, and assassinations, the other whispering promises of pleasure, escape, a softer life. The murder of Dr. King and Robert Kennedy is barely a year behind. Cities still smell of tear gas. College kids burn draft cards while their parents pray in living rooms where the furniture hasn't moved since 1955. Johnny Cash stands between those 2 Americas. On one side, Hugh Hefner's empire. 7 million Playboy copies sold every month. A silk-robed symbol of a sexual revolution that pretends guilt is optional. On the other, the man in black, recently pulled back from the edge. Only months ago, Cash recorded at Folsom Prison, standing before inmates who recognized his hunger because it matched their own. He is clean now, but not calm. The tremor in his hands is quieter than before, yet still there, like an aftershock. In March, ABC begins taping The Johnny Cash Show. The network wants modern relevance. Someone suggests a conversation on censorship and freedom in media. Then they add a name that makes the room go cold: Hugh Hefner. Backstage, the air smells of powder, coffee, and stage lights warming metal. June Carter stands near the costume rack, her jaw set. She leans in and whispers, "That man is everything we fight against." Johnny nods, but says nothing. He's turning a cigarette between his fingers, not lighting it. Old habits die slowly. Then Hefner walks in, not in a robe, but a tailored dark suit, calm, self-possessed, an assistant at his side. He scans the room, spots Cash, and crosses without hesitation. "Mr. Cash," he says, extending his hand, "I'm a huge admirer, especially Folsom." Cash blinks. He wasn't expecting respect. They end up in a dressing room meant for makeup touch-ups. Instead of arguing, they talk. Hefner quotes scripture, Methodist upbringing, he explains, then shifts to freedom, artistic, personal, sexual. Cash counters with faith as discipline, not escape. Neither raises his voice. Time slips. Twice, the assistant tries to interrupt. 10 minutes, Mr. Hefner." Hefner waves her away. He is listening. Finally, a silence hangs between them. Then Hefner says, "Next month, I'm hosting a private evening. Philosophers, musicians, thinkers. Not an orgy, discussion. Will you come?" Cash glances across the hall. June is laughing with a seamstress, unaware. He turns back. "I'll think about it." Hefner smiles. "You know, Johnny, We both sell fantasies. You sell redemption. I sell pleasure. But we're both giving people what they're missing at home. That sentence follows Cash into the night. He doesn't sleep. He stares at the ceiling, hearing the echoes of two worlds pulling him in opposite directions. Early April, 1969, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Morning light comes through the kitchen window the same way it always has. Soft, familiar, almost stubbornly normal. Johnny Cash sits at the table with black coffee he hasn't touched. The mail rests beside him, unopened. June sees the envelope first. Thick paper, cream-colored, heavy enough to feel intentional. No phone call, no intermediaries. Just ink, pressure, certainty. She reads it silently, then again, slower. Finally, she clears her throat and reads aloud. June 15th, 8 p.m. Topic: Freedom and responsibility in art. Dress code: comfort of the mind over comfort of clothing. Their daughter Roseanne swings her legs under the table, eating toast, unaware of the shift in the room. June lowers the letter. You're not going. Johnny doesn't answer right away. He stares at a crack in the table, carved years ago by a careless fork. The pause stretches just long enough to become its own response. That afternoon, Johnny calls Bob Johnston at Columbia Records. The line crackles. Long distance. Imperfect. Johnny, Johnston says carefully, this is a bad idea. Publicly, spiritually, professionally. You just rebuilt trust. Cash exhales. You can hear the match strike. The inhale. What trust, Bob? The trust that I won't fall apart again? You're a Christian example now. Christ ate with sinners. There's silence. Then Johnston sighs. If you do this, don't go alone. He didn't invite us, Cash replies. He invited me. 2 nights later, the house is dark. The clock reads 2:07 a.m. June is awake. Johnny is sitting on the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, staring at the floor. She speaks first. Calm. Controlled. Do you want to go because you're curious, or because you're looking for permission? He turns, startled. Permission for what? To stop being so careful. To step outside the lines again. 30 seconds of silence, no music, no narration, just breath. Finally, he says, maybe I want to understand why half this country lives like that, while I keep preaching to them from a stage. June reaches over and switches on the lamp. The light is unforgiving. Then go, she says. But promise me something. Anything. You go as Johnny Cash, who survived addiction, not the man who's looking for another way to disappear. He nods. I promise. And you call me at 10. From that party. A ghost of a smile crosses his face. Deal. The next morning, birds cut through the quiet Tennessee air. Johnny dials the number on the letter. Please tell Mr. Hefner I accept, he says. Wonderful, the assistant replies. Will you need transportation? No, Cash answers. I'll come alone. He hangs up. Outside, the world looks unchanged, but something irreversible has already started moving. June 15th, 1969. Chicago. The taxi slows in front of an iron gate Johnny Cash expected to resent, and doesn't. The Playboy mansion rises behind it. Not loud, not obscene. Georgian lines, trimmed hedges, light spilling from tall windows like a university library after hours. He pays the driver himself. No limousine, no escort. At the door, a concierge in a black tailcoat opens without surprise. No one stares at Cash's black suit. No one smirks. Inside, the air is cool, disciplined. Wood, leather, old books, not perfume. The first thing that stops him isn't a woman. It's a painting. Picasso, unmistakable, hanging like it belongs there. Then voices. Low, engaged, argumentative in the best way. He recognizes faces. Roman Polanski near the fireplace. Norman Mailer gesturing too sharply with a drink he hasn't finished. Gloria Steinem at the buffet, taking notes on a napkin. Cash slows. This is not the caricature he prepared himself to endure. Steinem notices him first. "Johnny Cash," she says, smiling. "So you fell into the paradox, too." "What paradox?" he asks. "Hugh invites people like us, so we can't dismiss him easily," she replies. "Annoyingly effective." An attendant offers champagne. Cash shakes his head. "Soda." Steinem watches, nods. Hugh doesn't drink either. Pepsi. Control matters to him. That surprises Cash more than it should. At 8:15, a subtle shift ripples through the room. Hefner appears at the top of the staircase, not robed, but in a tuxedo. He descends slowly, scanning faces, then locks eyes with Cash. "You came," Hefner says, genuine pleasure in his voice. Before Cash can answer, Hefner turns to the room. "Friends, Johnny Cash has agreed to play something later tonight." Cash freezes. "I didn't bring a guitar." Hefner smiles. "I have 7. It's a provocation. Cash feels it. Yet there's no mockery in it, only challenge. By 10, they're in the library. 15 chairs in a loose circle. No stage, no hierarchy. The question on the table lands hard. Mailer leans forward. "Johnny, you sing about murder, betrayal, prisons, yet you condemn sex. Why is death moral and desire obscene?" Cash doesn't answer immediately. He lets the silence breathe. "In my songs," he says finally, "there are consequences. The killer goes to prison. The liar loses love. In your world," Hefner cuts in gently, "there are consequences here too. Loneliness, emptiness. I'm just honest about them." Then Hefner adds, unexpectedly raw, "People leave this house feeling worse more often than better. Fantasy doesn't save anyone. It just delays the reckoning." Cash looks at him. "After my shows, people go home. They don't stay to hide from it." The room goes still. "Touché," Hefner says softly. Near midnight, Cash heads for the door. Hefner walks him out himself. "You promised a song." "I can't sing here," Cash replies. "Not tonight." Hefner nods and hands him a book. Plato, Apology of Socrates. "A man condemned for corrupting youth through free thought," Hefner says. "Familiar, no?" In the taxi, Cash opens the cover. A note falls out. "You search for sincerity among the wrong people, and miss falsehood among the right ones. Return when you know the difference." H. Chicago slides past the window. Cash doesn't know whether he's been challenged, understood, or quietly dismantled. He only knows the night isn't over. July 1969. Memphis. A hotel room that smells of stale air and last night's applause. Johnny Cash sits on the edge of the bed, boots still on, jacket folded with care. Midnight has passed, but sleep refuses him. The crowd is gone, the noise faded, yet his mind won't slow. He opens the book Hefner gave him. Plato again. He's already read the passages once. Now he rereads them slower, as if the words might confess something new if pressed hard enough. At 2:58 a.m., he shuts the book. He reaches for hotel stationery. The pen hesitates above the page, then moves. He doesn't write like a performer. No polish, no pose. "I read Socrates. Are you comparing yourself to a man who chose death over lies? Or just dressing up a business that sells women with philosophy? I ask because you said something I can't shake. You said I offer redemption without choice. Damn it. Maybe you're right. Maybe I sell a fantasy too, that God waits with open arms no matter what. And what if he doesn't?" He stops, rubs his eyes, continues. "I'm writing because my wife wouldn't understand this letter. My producer wouldn't either. You might, because you live inside the same contradiction. J.C." At 3 in the morning, he walks down to the lobby and mails it. He doesn't tell June. 4 days later, the reply arrives in Nashville. June sees the envelope first, the Playboy logo on the back. She doesn't open it. She sets it on Johnny's desk and leaves the room. The message is clear enough. Hefner's handwriting is deliberate, personal. I'm no Socrates. I'm a businessman who learned America wants to sin without admitting it. I give permission. You give forgiveness. We are both intermediaries. What keeps me awake isn't morality. It's emptiness. 25 rooms, hundreds of guests, and I fall asleep alone, watching old movies. Then, sharper. You ask about selling women. Fair. But do you not sell pain? Is Man in Black not a transaction? I'm honest about mine. Johnny's jaw tightens. The final paragraph hits without warning. I know about El Paso, the pills in '67, the affair after your marriage. Not from the press, from people close to you. I'm not threatening you. I'm showing you that your public righteousness is also a costume. The question isn't whether you wear a mask, it's whether you admit it. Johnny's hands shake for the first time in months. He tears the letter in half, then stops. Slowly, deliberately, he tapes it back together and hides it inside his guitar case. Days later, in Los Angeles, after 4 sleepless nights, he dials the operator. Connect me to the Playboy mansion. Hefner answers himself. Are you going to use this against me? Johnny asks. No, Hefner says. A blackmailer wants silence. I want honesty. A long pause. Why are you lonely? Johnny asks. Really? Hefner exhales. Because I built an ideal I can't live inside. I sell perfection. I want something real. Johnny closes his eyes. I know that feeling. Before hanging up, Hefner adds, September, Las Vegas, private engagement. I want to continue this conversation. Johnny doesn't answer, but the next morning, he tells his agent to block the date. The line has been crossed. September 13th, 1969. Nashville Airport smells like jet fuel and burnt coffee. Johnny Cash stands at the gate with his ticket folded too tightly in his hand. I've got a private corporate show, he tells June. Vegas, back in 2 days. She studies him longer than usual. Which hotel? I'll call when I land. It's a half-truth, and they both know it. June nods anyway. That silence follows him onto the plane. At 35,000 feet, Cash downs his 4th coffee. His hands tremble. Not craving, not withdrawal. Anticipation. Fear. The man beside him recognizes him. Playing the strip? Something like that. Shame June's not with you. Cash turns to the window. She's busy. The lights of Las Vegas cut through the desert like a wound. By 7 p.m., he's in an elevator climbing to the 24th floor of Caesar's Palace. The doors open, no crowd, no investors, just Hugh Hefner, calm, jacket open. Barbie Benton sits near the window, legs crossed, reading. A chef adjusts something quietly in the kitchen. That's it? Cash asks. This is the party, Hefner replies. Sit. Dinner is served on the terrace. The strip glows below. Barbie talks, not like a decoration, but like a student. UCLA, education major. Hefner paid her tuition. It's a fair trade, she says evenly. I use his platform. He uses my image. At least we admit it. Hefner nods. Everything is a transaction, Johnny. Even love. Later, Barbie excuses herself. It's just the 2 men now. Hefner pours Pepsi. Coffee for Cash. I didn't bring you here for a concert, Hefner says. I know. I want you to write for Playboy. Cash almost chokes. I'm not a writer. Exactly. I want honesty. 5,000 words. Faith in a world without it. I won't edit a syllable. Cash stands. June will never forgive me. Then don't lie to her, Hefner says. Or don't write. But don't pretend this isn't calling you. A contract sits on the table, prepared, waiting. Near midnight, Cash is alone in his room. The phone rings. June. You didn't call. I'm sorry. Which hotel? Caesar's. A pause, then her voice breaks. Someone called the office today, about a contract, for Playboy. The truth lands heavy. I haven't signed, Cash says. But you're there, she replies. With him. Yes. Silence. Then you already chose. The line goes dead. Cash stares at the contract. Outside, Vegas keeps shining. Inside, something finally cracks. September 16th, 1969. Nashville. Johnny Cash walks into his house carrying nothing visible except weight. The contract stays folded inside his jacket, pressing against his ribs like a bruise. June doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't ask where he's been. She makes breakfast, sets plates for the children, moves through the kitchen with practiced calm. That quiet is worse than anger. Did you sign it? She asks later in the bedroom. No. But you want to. He doesn't deny it. You need to decide, June says, because this isn't about a magazine. It's about whether the man who sings redemption is willing to stand naked in it. The door closes gently behind her. A week later, at the studio, nothing works. Johnny misses notes he's never missed. His producer stops the tape. This isn't about your voice, he says. This is about truth. You've been singing around it for years. That night, Johnny sits at the kitchen table alone, a typewriter in front of him. He starts strong, condemnation, scripture, certainty. After 2 pages, he rips them out. Too clean, too safe. Weeks pass. He writes only at night. Coffee replaces sleep. One dawn, June comes downstairs and reads over his shoulder. He doesn't stop her. I went to the mansion to judge, the page reads. I stayed because I saw myself reflected back. Not holy, not damned, just human. June doesn't speak. She simply nods. The writing turns darker. Pills, lies, betrayal. He names the things he's buried beneath applause. Each paragraph costs him something. Each sentence strips another layer away. On December 1st, the final page rolls out. 7,000 words. Too many. Too honest. June reads first. When she finishes, her eyes are red, but steady. Send it, she says. 10 days later, the phone rings. I can't publish this, Hefner says. Johnny's grip tightens. You promised. I know, but this will destroy you. Then let it, Johnny replies, or I publish it myself, and tell everyone you flinched. A long silence. January, Hefner says finally. Cover story. Johnny hangs up. He looks at June. I'm ready, he says. For the first time in months, he sleeps. January 5th, 1970. Before sunrise, the magazine reaches the racks. The cover stops people mid-step. Johnny Cash isn't dressed in black. He wears a white shirt, sleeves unrolled, seated in a dim room lit by a single lamp. He isn't looking at the camera. He's looking past it, toward something unresolved. By 6 a.m., the phone won't stop ringing. Record executives speak in legal language. Church leaders speak in absolutes. Headlines compress a lifetime into 4 words: confession, hypocrisy, scandal, courage. At the kitchen table, June holds a mug she hasn't touched. She doesn't cry. The children are at school. Silence fills the house. At 10, a statement from a Baptist convention brands Johnny a traitor to faith. By noon, the label threatens contracts. By evening, letters arrive, some furious, some grateful, many handwritten. One says simply, if he can tell the truth, maybe I can too. At school, their daughter is cornered by a classmate. My dad says your dad's a sinner. She answers without hesitation. He said that first. 2 weeks later, another call. Hefner invites Johnny to Chicago. A celebration, he says. One last night. Johnny looks at June. Go, she says. But this time, I'm coming. February 15th. The mansion again. Same walls, different air. June wears a simple dress, not defiant, grounded. Hefner greets them both with care. No showmanship, just respect. Late in the evening, glasses clink. A toast is raised, not to sales, but to nerve. Johnny stands awkwardly among applause that feels earned and undeserved at once. Near 4 a.m., the crowd thins. Johnny lifts an empty glass and lets it fall. It shatters. Silence cuts the room. I used you, he says to Hefner. I came here for permission to be flawed. I turned you into a symbol so I didn't have to face myself. Hefner's eyes glisten. That's the most honest thing anyone said to me. June takes Johnny's hand. They don't stay long. Weeks later, back in Nashville, Johnny records again. The songs sound different, less armored, more human. At dinner, their daughter asks, Are you friends with the Playboy man? Johnny smiles gently. I was friends with a person. That's not the same thing. That night, he places a simple holiday card into his Bible. No message, just a single letter signed at the bottom. He closes the book where wisdom wrestles with doubt, and finally sleeps.